I am Dr. Douglas Turkington, and for the last 30 years I've been working with people with schizophrenia and their families. I've also been one of those that developed an evidence-based treatment for schizophrenia called cognitive behavioural therapy. So the purpose of this film is to allow family members to be able to see how these principles of cognitive behavioural therapy can be applied in their own home situation. And we would call this CBT Informed Caring. This film has been produced by the Digital Media Services of Newcastle University, the Insight CBT Partnership, and the Schizophrenia Society of Ontario. Now, the characters in this film are fictional. These do not represent an actual real family. But the situations which develop, you will see, are very typical of those which many families with a family member with schizophrenia will have develop within the home setting. So it's to be hoped that within this film you will see approaches and techniques which can be applied in your own home family situation, which could lead to some prospect of positive change and perhaps catalyse the emergence of a recovery trajectory.
I'm sick and tired of you taking advantage of me. Sick and tired of it. I'm the only one that looks after people in our family that really cares. You're so into your newspapers and your work. You don't really care. You don't really care.
Really cares? There was a little spider in the wall the other day and you had a panic attack in front of Toya.
I did not. You're over-dramatic.
You had a panic attack.
You're over-dramatic.
You went and you got a bag, you were blown into it. I mean, it did not help Toya at all.
I was trying to get the bag to kill the spider.
I went over to see it and it was a little fly. It wasn't even a spider. I mean, how pathetic is that?
Well, you're pathetic.
There's not me. I'm not the pathetic one in this household.
Yeah, right. You are. I'm so sick and tired of you taking advantage of me.
You're sick and tired, I'm sick and tired, we're all angry.
Toya likes spending time with me. She likes that I protect her.
So you say.
You put her in situations that are so rough. You put her at risk all the time. You don't even ask her.
Well, I know somebody who will come on my side in this argument, and that is Sue.
Yeah, Grandma.
Sue will come on my side in this argument.
What's going on? Why are you all arguing with one another? It's only upsetting Toya. Toya, it's all right. It's all right, sweetheart.
Dad's blowing everything out of proportion.
Well, I think you both are. You're both jealous of one another. With Toya in the middle of it all, it's no good.
Dad just doesn't see that she needs to be protected. She needs to be safe. She needs to be reassured.
Yes, she does. But she needs to look outside the house, to a wider world, to have new experiences with your care.
Yeah,
yes.
New experiences are stressful. They're stressful.
I told you. Sue is going to back me up.
New situations are ambiguous and stressful.
I understand both of you and what you're saying. But she has got to do this.
She wants to stay with me. She wants to stay with me in the house to play her games.
No,
that's what she wants.
It's no good. She can't stay in the house. She's got to go out into the world. And she's got to experience the world and other people.
But when she's ready and when she feels safe.
Well, she'll never be ready if you don't start. You have to start gently. It's all escalating again. It's all getting far too much for her to cope with. And you arguing with one another, it unsettles her. It makes her retreat more into herself, more into her head and what she sees.
All of you take advantage of me. I'm the only one trying to protect her.
No, we don't take advantage. We understand what you're trying to do, but it's not necessarily the right way to do it.
Many families caring for a family member with schizophrenia show high levels of frustration, despair and distress. It is clear that such high levels of expressed emotion within the family make the symptoms of schizophrenia worse and make relapse more likely. Toya, I'm afraid the neighbour came round this morning, and what he was saying was that you were shouting out last night. What happened?
I've told you about this before. It's those others. I've told you.
Well, what kind of others are we talking about, Toya?
The zombies.
Zombies? Oh.
I told you the government, everyone is in it. They've planted something, and some virus has infected people, and all the dead are arising.
Toya, look, I've told you before, there aren't any zombies. There just aren't any.
I told you there are.
Okay. We've both got a misunderstanding there. And, okay, the neighbours complained about you shouting, but when are you going to have a shower?
I can't have a shower.
Well, why can't you have a shower?
The water.
Oh, what's wrong with the water?
You might be infected.
Oh, it's this poisoning thing again, is it?
I don't know what's happening. I don't trust anyone.
I mean, it's been 12 years now, Toy. You got that schizophrenia a long time ago, and we've still got all this stuff.
Well, it's a slow process, this infiltrating of the systems with all these zombies. It doesn't happen overnight.
Well, I just don't know. I'm getting to my wit's end with this whole situation, Toya. Neighbours complaining, you don't have a shower, you don't do your teeth, you're on the flaming computer games 6 or 8 hours a day. I just don't know what I can do to help you. Doug is doing his best to care for Toya, but he keeps confronting and challenging her symptoms. What he needs to do is to listen more, ask more questions, and find out information about Toya's symptoms. Sue, I'm going to be honest with you. This family is falling to pieces.
I know.
Now, Toya's not listening to us, but I'm just going to talk straight here. The neighbours are up in arms about it. She's shouting out at night time. It's not fair. There's children next door. There's people trying to get asleep. She's on the computer game and she's shouting. And she's not well.
I know she's not well. She hasn't been well for 12 years. It's a desperate situation. I just don't know what to do.
None of us know what to do. None of us do. I mean, someone's got to give. I've got to be honest, my health's getting worse. I think I'm getting depressed.
Well, it's not surprising.
And as for Naz, she could scrape her off the ceiling. She's up a height.
I know.
And I don't know how you're feeling about all of this.
Well, I'm permanently in a state of anxiety and worry. I feel guilt because I feel I haven't helped her enough. I'm an older person. I should know what to do. But I don't. There must be someone. There must be some sort of help we can get. And yet, it doesn't seem to be available.
It's a disgrace, isn't it?
Well,
12 years we've been trying for. We're deteriorating, and there's just drugs.
Well,
there's just medicine.
Yeah, I
There's
know.
nothing. There's no help for us.
No, I know. I mean, I don't understand the healthcare system. There must be something that can be done for her. I mean, it's driving us all into despair, into an abyss almost, because we just feel helpless and inept.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I tell you, the one thing that did help me a bit was Toya said, why don't you do something for yourself? I mean, I think she kind of realises the whole family's just rotating around her zombie life, you know.
Well, that's a wonderfully lucid moment. Perhaps we can gain something from that.
Well, she said, why don't you go back to your old hobby of soccer? And I said, I'm too old.
No.
I can't play soccer anymore, you know. And she said, there's walking soccer. Oh. And I'm going to take you, and you just walk about, you know.
That.
And
I've heard of that.
It lifted me a bit, you know.
Yes.
And it distracted me a bit.
Yes,
And,
I know.
What about you? I mean,
I would love to, but I don't feel I can leave the house apart from doing the shopping because I feel that she relies on me and I've got to be around.
But maybe we're doing a bit too much. Maybe that was part of the message to me.
Perhaps.
Stop being so focused in, you know.
Yes,
now,
perhaps.
you used to be, Sue, a good tennis player.
Reasonable, yes. And I loved it.
You had a
loved
good
it.
serve and a good volley.
Yeah.
Why don't you book up with one of your friends
Yes.
and get a game of tennis?
So long as there's someone here with her, I'll do that.
Okay, well, we'll make sure there's someone here. And another thing that I'm thinking we should maybe both of us, and maybe Naz as well, try to do is get along to some kind of support group. There must be something out there.
There must be.
Let's try and find it.
Yes, I think that's a marvellous idea.
Yeah. It is certainly clear that some family members caring for someone with schizophrenia suffer chronic stress and even develop mental disorders such as anxiety and clinical depression. Toya, something exciting's happened. Me and Naz went along to the CBT Informed Caring workshop and we learned some things that we think might help.
Were you all talking about me?
Well, no, we weren't talking about you. What we were talking about was the kind of problems people have when they have this kind of disorder, you know, like the thing about poisoning and zombies and stuff. Apparently other people have that same sort of fear.
Yeah, the zombies are out there.
So it was a great support for us to meet other families and to find out what they did. And one thing they were saying was, why not work on something nice and simple together to see if it could help? Obviously not the zombies thing, that's different. But how about something like feeling anxious or not having much energy or not sleeping well? What about something like that? We could work on it.
I've got all of those problems. I
Oh,
think
right.
the sleep is the worst though.
It's terrible when you can't get sleep. And so you're awake at night time worrying about things.
I'm monitoring what's going on.
Oh, you must be
And then
tired.
on the games I'm fighting the zombies.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time on that game.
I have to fight the zombies.
I understand. Now, if you could get a little bit of sleep, maybe you might feel more alert and more able during the day to do the things you have to do.
That's a good idea. I might be able to attack the zombies if I've got more energy.
Well, that might be the spin-off. So, what they were saying in this workshop was one of the main things that leads to people not sleeping right is that the room is too hot or it's too cold. Now, I've never thought about that since your mum passed away. And what's your room like at night time? Is it roasting hot or is it cold?
It's really hot.
Okay.
I wake up in the middle of the night with sweats.
And is there any need for it to be that hot?
Well, you guys control the heating. It's nothing to do with me.
Okay, fair comment. So, how about we'll bring the temperature of the room down a bit and see if that helps us sleep?
Okay, I'll give it a go.
It's a very simple sort of an idea, isn't it? The other thing they were saying was some people sleep on a bed that is just far too hard or far too soft, and that wakens them up.
Are you going to buy me a new bed?
Well, we might need to get a grant for that, but I mean, if that would help.
I'd like a new bed.
But is your bed too hard or too soft? Is there anything like that?
I've never thought about it, really.
Well, we'll have a look at it and see if it suits you okay. That would be a thing. Now, the other thing that they said at the workshop was drinking lots of coffee or fizzy drinks after 5 or 6 o'clock at night keeps you awake overnight. Now, I can't remember how much you're drinking of coffee and tea and Coke and things like that.
I need the Coca-Cola.
Okay.
I drink lots of that. I like Coca-Cola.
So what they were saying was, why not swap that for water or squash or something?
Bottled water, not tap water. Tap water's poison, but...
Okay, so we'll get the bottled water and we'll try that. So there's 3 quite simple ideas that we might try. And what we'll do is we'll measure how much sleep you get. That's what they were saying, you've got to measure it.
Okay.
So how much sleep do you get these days?
2 hours a day.
Oh man, that's hopeless, isn't it? You're meant to be getting 8 hours sleep, they say.
Really?
So you're starting with 2. So what we'll do is we'll do the thing with the temperature. We'll have a look at the bed. We'll go into the bottled water at night time. And we'll just measure how much sleep you get. Does it sound like a plan?
I'll give it a go.
Great. Well, we'll try that. If it doesn't work, at least we've tried something together.
Yeah, and I might get a new bed out of it.
You might. Doug seems to have moved from a position of being confrontational and critical to have developed some insight and is now becoming more optimistic about seeing a way in which the family can interact differently to support Toya's recovery. You know what I really took from that first morning of the CBT Informed caring workshop? And for me it was an eye-opener. It was this thing about if there's lots of emotions in the home, it actually makes the person you're caring for more psychotic. That's incredible, isn't it? And the eye-opener for me was that criticism is perceived as a kind of angry phenomenon. And I'm thinking, Doug, you're a bit critical, you know. You're going to come over critical a lot. Do you think I'm critical?
Yeah, Dad. A lot.
Oh, just tell me
You put me
straight.
down sometimes too. I don't like it.
I actually got this insight. I've got to say I'm sorry. I apologise to you because, and to you as well, Sue, because I think I do it to everybody. It's kind of the way I am. And I'm just trying to make things right. So I try to force it to be right.
Yes, but I think if you've appreciated that, that's a big step forward.
Yeah.
And I think I've learnt a lot too. I think I've now understood that it wasn't my fault that Toya became ill.
Yeah.
At all, and that I've tried my best to look after her. Okay, I might not have always said and done the right things, but I have tried hard to do that. And I think that's helped me, made me feel calmer, and made me feel that perhaps we should relearn to be a family, to be a normal family, even though we have somebody who is very, very ill in our midst. We've got to learn to treat each other more normally and in a way, in a kind way, I think.
Yeah. Go back to the start. What do you think, Naz?
I think so. I mean, after Mum passed, I became more worried about Grandma, so I wanted to look after her. And I became more worried about you, so I wanted to look after you. And Toya, because she's doing the worst out of all of us, I want to look after her the most. And I used to wake up every day feeling extremely anxious. And I didn't recognise that until the training. And I don't want anything to happen to any of you. And well, I was doing too much. I would bring Toya her toothbrush with a wash bowl and a cloth in her bed, and I'd forced it upon her because I'd wanted to do it so much.
You wanted the best.
I did want the best.
We learned it, we just didn't know how to do it properly, and we can do it differently. So I'm going to stop being so critical. I'm going to find a way of doing that. You're going to become less anxious, more relaxed.
Yeah.
And so you're going to stop blaming yourself.
I'm going to stop blaming myself, and I'm going to look after you two better and not fix entirely upon Toya.
And we'll bring all the emotions down a bit.
Yes.
No more arguments.
Oh, no.
No more
please,
finger pointing.
No.
No more non-stop anxiety and criticism.
No.
That'll be a relief.
It will be. It will. That's good, isn't it, nice?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
and I'll
it's
try
good.
to praise Toya on anything that I think she's doing good. Anything at all, even if it's just small.
Okay. Surprisingly, high levels of expressed emotion also include being overprotective and doing too much for the person with schizophrenia. This is equally unhelpful and is liable to lead to worsening of symptoms and to make relapse more likely. So Toya, I've kind of noticed you've been maybe a little bit more down in the dumps since our last bit of talk when you told me about they were hearing the voices.
I've just been thinking a lot about Mum recently.
Oh, I know this has come up a couple of times, hasn't it? And we both got a bit down about it, didn't we? I mean, was there anything particular about Mum that you wanted to... I had lots of good times, didn't we?
I think I caused her death.
How could you have caused her death?
There was a letter which I found, and it had Mum's cancer appointment on there, and Mum didn't attend that appointment, but I knew she had an appointment.
Now, wait a minute, we're going way back here, Toya. This is back to when you were like in your late teens, wasn't it? Was 16 or 17? And yeah, when your mum had the cancer and she was getting the proper treatment for it, but she was going downhill with the cancer. And I must say the whole family didn't talk about it. And I think that's because none of us coping with it. But we all of us knew that she wasn't going to her appointments. And that was her choice. Remember Bob Marley? He had a brain cancer, didn't he? Remember Bob Marley?
Yeah.
Famous kind of musician, reggae star. And Bob Marley said, I want a decent quality of life. I want to be with my family, with my friends. I'm not taking the chemotherapy. I'm not having surgery. I'm choosing quality of life.
I just think I could have done something if I made her go.
Well, to be honest, I had a discussion with a consultant, and maybe I should have told you this long ago, and he said to me, look, it's her choice. In terms of time, to be honest, it might give her a couple of weeks, but no more than that. And so it was very much her choice. I'm just so sorry that you were blaming yourself. Maybe we needed to be communicating better as a family at that bad time, at that terrible time. But I can tell you now, we all knew, and it was not your fault in any way. And I wish I'd said that long ago.
Just feel like we all should have tried harder.
It's I know. But I think she was as happy as she could be in those months. She got to go the places she wanted to go. We took her up to York. We took her the places she wanted to see relatives. We took her to see them. I think it was a force of nature. There wasn't anything we could do. It's just so sad, isn't it? And I think at that time you seemed to be having problems at school as well, didn't you? But you never told me what was going on.
The school was pretty tough back then.
It wasn't the best school in the area, I must say. What was going on there?
Well, the kids at school, they used to call me a zombie.
Why were they calling you that? Because your mum was ill?
I don't know. I don't know if it's because I was tired all the time.
That is terrible, isn't it? I tell you, kids at school can be absolutely evil to each other, can't they? Look at the kind of bullying that happens in the social media. It's just terrible, isn't it? So you were getting all that kind of bullying at school at that terrible time. How were you coping?
Well, I didn't tell you. I told Naz, but I started taking some spice and some other stuff.
Oh, James, this has been some session today, hasn't it? We've learned more today than I ever knew about you before. So you were taking spice. That's kind of synthetic cannabis, is that right? That's super strong. What kind of effect did that have on you?
Well, I felt relaxed.
So it got all these horrible feelings away?
So I sat there for hours and I felt fine. I felt at peace.
Well, I understand why you were doing that with your mum being so ill and the kids were bullying you because of it. That's just horrendous. I don't blame you for taking something at that time. It sounds so terrible. I think at that time I was maybe drinking a wee bit too much to cope, you know. Everyone copes in their own way. But I think with you having told me all this, surely this would be a good time to get one of these proper therapists in. You've got a lot to talk about there.
Maybe. I'm not sure how they're going to help with the zombies, but...
Well, it's interesting you say that the kids at school were saying you were a zombie.
I think that's just a coincidence.
Yeah, could be. But do the voices sound like bullies?
Well, they always take the mick out of me and say horrible things and tell me to do bad things.
And was that a bit like what the bullies at school were saying?
The bullies never used to tell me to do anything, but they're always calling me names and making me feel bad about myself.
Well, so the voices are maybe a bit like the kind of things the bullies used to say. Well, this has been emotional, hasn't it? I'm just so glad you've been able to tell me that. Do you feel any better for knowing that it was never your fault about Mum missing those appointments?
I feel like I've got a bit of a weight released off my shoulders now.
Oh, I'm so glad. That's great. Hey, these talking sessions have been an eye-opener, haven't they? Okay. So, I'm going to go and phone and try and get you one of these experts to come in. Because I've only learned a little bit from that course and you need to see a proper person who can help you with it. It's so painful, isn't it? What you've been through. Does it sound okay? The channels of communication within the family have now become open, and the disclosure of Toya's self-blame in relation to the very difficult time in her life when her mother died is a crucial step. Without this, little progress can be made.
Hi Toya, it's good to see you again today. I think this is around the 4th session we've had of our cognitive therapy.
Yeah.
And what we've done so far in today's session is try to make sense of your experiences and try to make sense of why it is that you hear these voices and that you have these real fears about zombies. Yeah?
Yeah.
So we've put together kind of like a circular diagram which is what we call a formulation, but it's really just a kind of way of making sense of your experiences. We've talked quite a bit about your mum and her death and how that really affected you. Yeah, and how at the same time you were also experiencing some bullying at school. Yeah. And is that, remind me again, is that how these ideas of zombies first started?
Well, I started having some spice, and then I started hearing voices.
Yeah. So it was the spice then that kind of triggered these voices?
Perhaps.
Or perhaps a combination of all of these things?
I always thought it was the zombies.
Yeah. And didn't the kids at school used to call you zombie as well? Is that how those ideas first developed?
I might have done. I don't know.
You're not sure. But what we do know from research is that cannabis, even though it can have pleasurable effects because it can relax you and chill you out, it can actually also have some negative effects as well. So we know that it can make people feel quite paranoid and quite wary and suspicious of others. But not only that, it can actually lead to hallucinatory experiences, so voices, for example, or seeing things as well. Was that something you were aware of?
I didn't know that.
No.
People always told me that I was mad, and what I was saying just didn't make sense.
Yeah. And then understandably these voices have made you feel very anxious and very frightened.
I am worried because I don't want to harm anyone.
Yeah, and that's the reason why you stay at home.
Yeah, I kill the zombies.
You kill the zombies, and that's on your computer game, is it?
Yeah, I have to kill them so that in the real world the zombies are killed through this.
Yeah. And are there any other activities that you do, Toya, apart from playing on the zombie game?
I sleep and eat.
Yeah, But you said that you're only getting, is it 1 to 2 hours sleep a night?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
I can't sleep.
You can't sleep. And what does that do to the voices then when you can't sleep?
Well, the voices get worse.
They get worse. So if you get a good night's sleep, the voices will improve slightly.
I don't know. I've never had a good night's sleep.
You've never had a good night's sleep. Maybe that's something that we could work on, and maybe get you some tablets to help you sleep a bit better at night time and see what impact that has on your voices.
I like that.
Yeah, okay. And I guess if you're spending all your time during the day on that computer game and killing zombies, your mind must be completely focused on the zombies and preoccupied by them.
This is my world.
It is your world, right? Okay, yeah. So what do you make of that diagram, Toya? Does that make sense? Is that what's going on for you in your life right now?
I never once linked what happened in the past to the voices that I've experienced now.
Yeah.
That's something completely new for me.
It's new for you. Do you think it makes sense?
Looking at it, I can kind of see how that might be my story.
Yeah. I wonder if we could spend the next few sessions maybe trying to change what's going on here, and to try and break this cycle somehow, so that perhaps you get a better night's sleep, perhaps the voices will quieten down, and perhaps you might not be so worried and fearful of the zombies. Does that sound like a good idea?
If we can get rid of the zombies, I think we'll be fine.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Toya.
Making sense of psychosis is an antidote to stigma, as it shows why these troublesome symptoms, such as delusions, voices and poor self-care, have developed. There are very real reasons rooted in Toya's history. And now that she understands this, she can start to see that there's a prospect of recovery.
Hi Toya, it's good to see you back here today again.
Hello.
Hi, how did you get on taking that sleeping tablet? Has your sleep improved at all?
I didn't take it.
You didn't take it? That's fine. What was your reasons?
Well, I need to be awake so I can kill the zombies. If I'm not awake, then who knows what's going to happen in the world.
Right, that makes sense to me. Yeah, that's fine. And what about writing that letter to your mum? So one of the homework tasks from last week was to write a letter to mum to tell her how you felt about the days leading up to her death.
Well, I tried. I wouldn't call it a letter as such. It was just a few sentences. But
Right. And what did you say in those sentences?
I wrote about how I was sorry for not telling the rest of the family about the letter, but I also wrote that I'm sure that's what she wished for, that the rest of the family didn't know. So
Yeah. Because you had a discussion with Doug, didn't you? And he explained that actually it was your mum's wishes not to attend those final appointments. Yeah. And how did that make you feel, finding out that new information?
I felt less pressure off me.
Less pressure off you? Is that almost kind of like a relief then?
Yeah, I would call it a relief.
Because it sounds like you felt very responsible.
I still do a bit. I feel I am to blame a bit, but
You still feel
not so
like
much.
that? Not so much. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the voices, they seem to have not been so strong while I was writing the letter.
Okay. Right, and how do you make sense of that, Toya? Why do you think that is?
I didn't really think about it. Maybe they want me to express my emotions.
They want you to express your emotions. Is that something that they've said to you, or just a sense that you get?
I'm just guessing.
Yeah. Because what we know about the experience for people that hear voices is that they can be triggered or caused by a death and loss of a loved person. And also, as we've discussed before, voices can be triggered by taking drugs and not sleeping too well either. Yeah. But I've actually met quite a lot of people who hear voices.
Have you?
Yeah, lots of people. And I'm not sure if you're aware that there's some celebrities that hear voices.
Really?
Yeah. Do you know Anthony Hopkins? Have you seen him in various films on television?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, well, he's written a blog online and he talks about the voice he hears of his father, who was always very critical towards him. But he's managed to kind of overcome his voices and allocate specific times of the day where he hears them and communicates with them. So he's started to kind of exert some control over his voices.
So I could make an appointment with the zombies.
It's kind of almost like that, yeah. So that they don't disturb him during the day. I think he speaks to them in the evenings. Yeah. So there are various different ways in which people can quieten their voices and control them and not let them bother them so much during the day.
I don't want to be bothered by them anymore.
Yeah, it sounds like you've heard voices for a very long time and they've had, quite a large impact on your life, haven't they, Toya?
Yeah.
So I wonder if we might spend the next few sessions maybe learning more about voices and trying to get you some control over your voices in the way that Anthony Hopkins does.
If you can help me.
Yeah. I wonder if you might want to read online about Anthony Hopkins' voices and we can, I can give you that website and you could go away and do that for homework next time.
Don't know if I can bother to look at the website.
You're not sure? Well, how about we do that together in session? We could both do it. Because I'm quite interested to hear what his voice has said to him.
Okay.
Yeah? All right. Thank you.
Not taking the medicine is very common in schizophrenia and is a major problem causing ongoing symptoms and relapse. CBT can help people to take their medicine more regularly, but medicine should be supplemented by CBT techniques. Writing a letter to mother allows the symptoms of grief to start to be processed. This is a very useful technique, but one that should be done by an expert therapist rather than a family member.
Toya, it's been wonderful to think about the things that you've been doing with Helen. It's been great to listen to a little bit of the audio and the video from your sessions.
Okay.
One thing that she brought up was the importance of developing coping strategies. And, you know, in our family, since Mum passed, we've all been coping quite differently. And one of the things that I found quite helpful, if I can share with you, is when I think of a photo of Mum that's been quite helpful. And in that photo, Mum's standing outside my bedroom. It was in a time that I needed a lot of security and care, starting school. And she was standing there with a big smile on her face, holding her arms right open, like I was going to run up and hug her. And that image has been so important for me because all my memories of Mum were quite touched by sadness after she passed away. And I didn't really want to think about it. But bringing in a kind image of Mum when I feel really down about my grief has been quite helpful.
Yeah.
What do you think about the idea of imagining a picture or a memory as a way of coping with your grief?
What do you think about the zombies being dead and the picture of all the zombies splattered on the floor?
Oh, what do you think that represents to you?
I don't know, I think I'd feel better knowing that they're dead, or I get a decent night's sleep.
Well, sleep is quite important. This is something that you also talked to Helen about. One thing about imagining something like this is it can involve elements of kindness as well. So I think that you can use that image maybe when you're feeling very anxious about the zombies.
Yeah.
But another thing that you can do to focus on your grief maybe is to bring in an image that's kind of Mum. And I wonder, did you have any in mind?
A kind picture of Mum. Well, I always remember the time when we went to the beach and there's a picture of her that's in the attic, and she's got a big smile and the whole family were laughing. And there was a dog which gate crashed the picture.
Oh my, yes, I remember that. What in that picture and in that memory speaks to you the most?
Mum's smile, I guess.
She was so warm.
Yeah.
She was really warm. I can understand how that jumps out. Is there anything else that you think?
Everyone was happy and the dog was really cute. It was just a nice day, and it was sunny and the rays were coming down on me and Mum, and everyone was happy.
Yeah, it really brings back the memory, the way that you're describing it. It's so nice to hear. And the other thing that Helen mentioned that I've tried to do is try to practice thinking of a kind image in a regular way. So maybe 2 times a day, 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be so long in the beginning, but getting in some sort of routine might help. And that's, I guess, the way that you can get good at it as using it as a coping strategy. It might be a lot in the beginning, but do you think that that might be something that we could work toward together and maybe chat about?
Let's give it a try.
Yeah,
I'll give it a go.
that sounds good. Grandmama, what do you think?
I think that's a wonderful idea. I think it'll be good for both of you. Sort of practice together and to do this twice a day. And to relive your mum and her personality and the love she had for you both. I think it's a marvellous idea. It'll make you feel secure and happy the more you do it. And it'll be very good for your health.
I'll give it a go.
Yeah. Mum made us feel kindness and secure, and it'd be nice to feel that way again, even though she's not here, just for little parts of the day.
Most people with chronic schizophrenia symptoms have poorly developed coping strategies, and they are normally doing something to keep themselves safe from their delusions, voices, or high levels of anxiety. Other forms of distraction need to be developed. So, Toya, hey, you've had a shower, and you're having a regular shower.
I've got new clothes.
And did you go with Naz or go on your own? What happened?
Naz took me shopping.
And you went?
Yeah.
And were you relaxed?
It was fun.
Oh, you look fantastic.
What do you think? Naz picked this outfit for me.
Well, I think that's good, but you must have had a say in it.
Yeah. I just go with what she says. It seems good enough.
Yeah, well, you're happy, looking better, and that's fantastic, isn't it? And I think you've seen the therapist now, what, like 6 times or something?
Yeah.
What's been happening?
Well, she's been telling me that the phone isn't a good thing to be using, and I should find other ways of kind of distracting myself.
Okay. Yeah. I suppose the phone keeps your mind stuck on the zombie idea.
Yeah.
And you were telling me the other day that you weren't sure anymore if it was zombies, that was possible.
I still think it could be zombies, but I don't know if it's like my mind playing tricks on me.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, maybe it's because of the drugs I took.
Well, these are great points, because at that course thing they said that those kind of drugs were very powerful and they can make your mind play tricks. So that's possible. And the other thing was just sleep, because if you're not sleeping right, that can cause your mind to play tricks. It must be a big relief to think that maybe the mind's playing tricks and maybe it's not quite so bad, because you used to think it was a big conspiracy and there was all kind of people involved.
I'm just unsure about it now.
Well, that's better, isn't it? It's a nicer way to be. And your mood seems better.
Yeah, I think I feel more happier.
That's good. And have you been going through any grieving with the therapist?
Yeah, we've talked a lot about Mum.
Oh, right.
And yeah, I've remembered some of the positive memories that we had in the past, and that's been nice.
Oh, that's good. Getting the positives and the sad bit at the end, and getting your mind round it, and getting a perspective on it again, maybe.
Yeah.
I think I need to get the therapist for myself, because you seem to have come on quicker than me.
I think you should. It'd be helpful for you too.
I think it might be. Because none of us really got to grips with what happened, you know.
No.
And of course there's a big stigma about seeing a therapist, isn't there? But you managed to get over that, which was great.
Yeah, she's lovely.
So it seems like you're starting to get better, to get back to your old self.
I think so. I can't even remember what my old self was like.
It's a bit like me for those years I didn't do the walking soccer or anything, you know. I was just in the doldrums, you know. And I think you and me were both in the doldrums. Hey, we're out the doldrums now, aren't we?
I'm getting there.
Yeah. What can you see in the future?
Maybe I'll join some kind of club or do something, because I do spend a lot of time in the house.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. And have you any worries for the future?
Well, I'm worried about you and you not being here.
Oh, well, I'm not going to be immortal, that's for certain, but surely I've got 10, 20 years left, don't you think?
Who's going to look after me?
I've never really thought about that. I always thought that I would always be here. So I've not thought about that. But maybe you'll be so well by that time that, and having come through this, you'll be able to cope better when it comes from my time to go. Hey, we never speak about these things neither. These talking sessions we're talking about all kinds of things, but maybe it's better we talk about them. But Nas will still be here, and that therapist, you could still get a booster session, and I'll leave you loads of money. How about that? I'll leave you as much money as I can find in my will.
I'd still rather that you were here.
Ah, that's very nice. I'm doing better with the diabetes now, as you were telling me I need to go to GP, and they've got me in a little machine now. I can get a little blood test, and I can keep it a bit better. And they say that'll make me less tired. So maybe I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, once you keep it up, keep looking after yourself.
Keep it up. It would appear that the family begin to become closer. They're much less now separate individuals, all struggling on their own, and they're more a cohesive group with a sense of direction. The delusion starts to recede, and Toya comes up with other possible explanations, such as it may have been strong cannabis in the past, or maybe her mind was playing tricks due to lack of sleep.
Naz, I'm worried about this trip going out.
I understand. It's been a long time since you and I have gone out to do anything together.
I don't know if it's going to be safe.
You're right. Do you remember some of the things that we talked about? Is it the zombies that might be worrying you?
I don't know if it's going to be safe. The zombies might be on the route. I don't know.
Do you remember the time that we talked about using image to help us?
Yeah.
And you came up with a really brilliant one.
Mum.
Yeah. Another one that you came up with was thinking that the zombies were actually dead.
Yeah.
And we thought that you might be able to use that when you get quite anxious. And it sounds like you're feeling anxious right now.
So, just picture that they're dead.
If you think that might be helpful, yes. The other thing that I thought might be really good is that you used to carry around that game as a way of trying to kill the zombies.
Yeah.
But from our work with Helen and all your efforts, we've been able to kind of make sense of what's going on. And it sounds like the zombies are in some way connected to the grief that you're feeling.
I'm still unsure though. This is the first time I'm going to go out without the game, and I won't be able to attack anyone.
Well, in combination with this image that you have of the zombies being dead, I found something very special that you might be able to hold as we walk to the shops.
Really?
Can I show it to you?
Okay.
I'm just going to get it out of my bag. So this...
Mum's necklace.
That's right. I was thinking you could carry it or wear it, whatever you think might be helpful, as we walk to the shops. How does it feel just holding it right now?
I can't believe you found it.
Yeah. She kept it in a box, hidden from us. I kind of dug it out. I remember her sticking it in there one day, a long time ago. I thought you might like to have it. What are you thinking right now?
Maybe I can bring this with me when we go out today.
Yeah. This is one way that you can think about Mum in a nice way. and a compassionate way to think about your grief. It allows you to think of her in a way that's connected to us again.
Thank you.
Of course. Are you still feeling a bit anxious about going out, Toya?
A little bit.
Well, in combination with your image of the zombies being dead, and now this necklace, maybe another thing that we can do together is use the idea of just being able to talk about your feelings when we're walking and talking together instead of keeping it in.
Yeah.
And if you feel like your anxiousness is really getting too much, you can either tell me or you could give me a sign.
Yeah.
And some people like to use, the hand going up as a sign that I might be able to see. Or you could grab my hand and just hold it quite firmly.
Yeah.
And that way we might be able to just talk to each other to help each other through the tough moments. What do you think about that idea?
I think you'll know when I am feeling anxious, but I'll grab your hand.
I think that'd be wonderful. And there's nothing wrong with it because it really blends in with everybody in the shops. Everybody holds hands and it doesn't stand out in a way that would make you feel isolated or anything uncomfortable.
Okay, let's go.
So do you think with those three things, how do you feel your anxiety is now?
We're not out in the situation, I guess. We have to just wait and see how I feel once we're out there, but
you've got three great
yeah.
coping strategies right in front of you.
I've got things to try.
Yeah, and we'll do it together.
Yeah.
It is clear that in the early stages of recovery, high levels of anxiety can occur when attempting something new, such as a trip to the shops, and extra support from family members is needed in these early stages.
Hi Toya, it's our last CBT session today. So I just was wondering if there was anything that you wanted to cover today in our last session.
Well, last week I had the thought about the zombies again. I thought they were going to hack in. Well, they had hacked into my brain.
Oh, okay.
And Dad heard me shouting upstairs.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So
he was worried about me, and I just don't want it to happen again.
And how are you today? How did you sleep last night?
I managed to take a sleeping tablet, and
Did you?
yeah, that worked well.
It worked well. So what day did this happen last week?
It was last Wednesday.
Yeah. And how had that day been for you?
Well, I went to see that consultant, and he just brought me down.
It brought you down. In what way? How did that happen?
I just don't like him. He didn't seem to believe me, and and he didn't want me to come off my medication immediately, and I wanted to come off my medication.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts now about your medication then? When you kind of look back and see that you had a bit of a blip last week?
Oh yeah, I think I should stick to it, because now that I've come back on it, I think I'm better.
Okay. So it's important to kind of watch out for these, what we call early warning signs. So sometimes if we start to feel unwell again, there can be these kind of early signals or signs that we need to watch out for. Yeah. So it sounded like that experience going to see a consultant wasn't too positive. Is that right?
No, I felt like he just called me a schizophrenic, and
right. But did he actually say that to you?
I can't remember.
But keeping on your medication, we know is important to prevent relapse and to prevent becoming unwell again. Yeah. Do you remember what the signs were when you first started hearing voices? What kind of things?
I was starting to feel quite low, and I felt as if the world around me was kind of slowing down.
Right. So the world around you was slowing down. What was that like?
I just felt everything was happening in slow motion.
Yeah.
And
what about feeling quite anxious? Because you told me that you were feeling really like on edge and a bit fearful.
yeah, I was always anxious, and I had lots of thoughts about my mum and her past and the things that I could have done.
Yeah.
And everything just spiralled from then.
Yeah. So thoughts
And the
about your mum.
drugs.
Yeah.
The drugs.
So thoughts about your mum, feeling you wanted to take drugs to try and, as a sort of release, and also feeling as though things were slowing down and
the bullying as well.
the bullying. Yeah. So it's important that we watch out for these signs and changes in the way that we feel or the way that we start to experience the world. Yeah. So would you know what to do then, Toya, if those symptoms started to develop again?
No.
You're not
What
sure?
do I do?
Well, I think firstly, the important thing to do would be to let me know. Yeah, so you know that that there are booster sessions available, and that means that if you feel that you're not feeling too well at the moment, that you can give me a call and we'll meet again for some more CBT sessions.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And the other thing you mentioned was to take sleeping tablets.
Yeah.
To make sure that you get a good night's sleep, which of course will ease the voices and stop them coming on as strong. Yeah.
Could try that.
Is there anything else you can think of?
Maybe try and get out a bit more.
Yeah. What kind of things could you do?
Well, I had been thinking about the volunteering again.
So it's important to keep stress levels low, so to try and keep calm, but yes, to keep active and doing things that you enjoy. Yeah, but not something that's going to stress you out too much. And I remember you saying that you really enjoyed shopping with your sister, Naz.
Yeah, that
choosing
was
some
good.
nice clothes. Yeah. So maybe you could arrange a shopping trip.
Yeah, I'd like to do that again.
And you also talked about when you express your emotion and let your emotion out a bit, that can help. So maybe, is there anyone else that you could talk to apart from me?
It's just Naz.
Naz.
My dad sometimes.
That's good. Okay.
He started doing some talking sessions with me as well.
Oh, that's good. How are you finding them?
Yeah, I'm speaking to him more and he's criticising me less.
That's great. So I wonder how you might feel about us sharing today's session with Dad and with Naz.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know.
Can you write it down, please? Because I have trouble remembering all of this.
Sure. Or we could share the therapy tape with them if you would be willing to do that.
Yeah.
Fear of relapse is identified by the therapist as a major concern. The better adherence with medication is continued, and a plan is generated to maintain the level of recovery which has been achieved. 12 years ago, when Toya first became unwell, I had about 20 minutes with a consultant psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist taught me that it was important to try and keep the stress levels down, and if there's too much stress, that would make the schizophrenia worse. But to be honest, I didn't have a clue how to do that. I never had any training or input over those 12 years. And by chance, I went along to CBT Informed Caring for Psychosis, and my eyes were opened because there are so many things you can learn and do differently. And so that for me was a really big turning point. In fact, it was almost too much in those 2 days. And there was a handout and I went home and read it. And what struck me was this befriending approach, because it seemed like communication was very important. And I'd been communicating in quite a domineering and forceful way towards Toya. And this seemed to not be good. So we set up these sessions, 10 to 15 minutes twice a week. And I said to Toya, look, we can talk about anything you like. And I'm going to try and not be critical. And maybe we'll talk about some of the good times we've had together. Now, in these befriending sessions, we became much closer. I became less critical. And I started to learn so much more about Toya and her illness. So for me, that was a great breakthrough, and that has carried forward from that time. The whole family's changed round about her. The expert therapist was really, really important. And it seems now we're getting our daughter back. She's not fully there yet, but there's more emotion there, there's more motivation, and there's less zombies. That's got to be good.
I feel very responsible as the matriarch of the family that I should have known what to do. It worried me. Well, worried wasn't the word. It just set me thinking constantly in a very anxious way how we were going to get through all this as Toya was so ill. And when her mother died, the whole family were broken-hearted, but all in their different ways. They all suffered differently. They all coped in a different way. And we weren't cohesive. We were all disparate. And as I say, I felt that I should know what to do, and I didn't. I was adrift. I can hardly believe the progress which we've made. It's been amazing. After such a long time of not knowing what to do, the opportunity for the CBT therapy came along. I hoped it would work, but to be honest with you, I didn't think it really would. I thought she was too ill. But she has recovered in leaps and bounds. It's still early days, as Doug has said, but she is improving. She's a happier girl. We're all happier. We now talk to one another. We air our problems and our concerns. And we're now a normal family. And I never believed that could be a possibility.
Well, these days recovery has been quite slow but steady. What really made the difference was my family attending the carer CBT session. I noticed that when they came back from there, the way that they treated me was completely different. I mean, Dad was less critical and Naz just stopped making so much of a fuss over me, which was a bit of a relief. And I think my nan, she seemed to understand a lot more about my situation and what was going on. And another thing which helped me was having therapy with Helen. Helen helped me make sense of the situation and understand why I was experiencing the voice of zombies and why the other symptoms that I was experiencing was also occurring. Having that diagram there helped me see that it was linked to past events such as the bullying. And also the therapy helped me open up with my feelings and chatting with the family about the loss of my mum and going through that process of grief with my family and the therapist. That was really helpful too. I also found through the training that my family went through that I learnt about what I learnt was to kind of look after other people as well. I started looking after my father and we started talking more and that relationship developed. And last but not least, the volunteering. Now that I'm volunteering with the dogs, That's been really important. I think the dogs were a really big, important aspect of my recovery.
Well, I don't know what you made of Toya and her family. She did seem to get a bit better. Unfortunately, this doesn't always happen, but usually there can be a degree of improvement. I just wonder what you think the key things were that happened there. For me, important things were improving communication, improving listening, and really understanding what the causes of Toya's schizophrenia were. And these seem to be quite dark, undiscussed family secrets in relation to her mother's death. She was bullied at school, it was never disclosed, and she was using a very strong form of cannabis. And together these triggered her schizophrenia, and then it was maintained by social isolation and absolute preoccupation with the game which she was using. So the CBT Informed Caring did seem to offer something in this case. Now, you might be watching this on your own, but usually this is meant to be viewed in a group setting with a chairman who can deal with any questions you might have. If you have concerns or other questions, please ask your mental health professional, your psychiatrist, or your primary care physician. There are other opportunities to learn more. There is a book available entitled CBT Informed Caring for Schizophrenia, and there are a series of lectures available from the Schizophrenia Society of Ontario. These go all the way from 1 hour introductory lectures through 1 day, 2 days, and right up to 4 days, where you could be actively learning and practicing and even role-playing these techniques to learn more. So, I hope that you've found something here which might be useful for you, and I hope you'll want to go on to learn more, and I wish you all good luck in trying to use CBT Informed Caring within your family setting.